Hello, we are Charleston ABC and have Sarah Spinn, Corey Lewis, Alex Drafts, Maro Mansourian, and I am Beth Robinson. We're here today to talk about how to increase beer sales. A little bit about beer. It is the third most popular drink in the world after water and tea. In 2014, 59% of beer sales were in retail stores like this one, and it totaled $252 billion. The target audience is all shoppers over 21 years old. Our main purpose is to examine how to maximize revenue by manipulating marketing variables for individual beer brands. The three variables we're looking at are if the brand was featured as advertisement in the local circular, displayed in the lobby or on an end cap, and if the brand had a price reduction of 5% or more. I wanted to give you a baseline data from your store over the past year. You offer 52 brands produced by 21 firms. The top 5 selling brands in units sold and dollars sold are the same, although in a different order. The top 5 consist of Bud Light, Coors Light, Miller Lite, Budweiser, and Heineken. In both cases, Bud Light has almost double the sales than the next runner-up. As mentioned, we looked at 3 variables: featured, displayed, and price reduced. Over the past year, 34 brands were featured in the circular and 18 were not, about a 2/3, 1/3 split. Another variable we looked at was whether the brand was displayed in the lobby or on an end cap. The split here was even, with 26 brands being displayed at least once and 26 brands not being displayed at all. We also looked at whether the price reduction proved successful. Throughout the prior year, 36 brands tried a price reduction of 5% or more, and 16 brands did not. Here you will see that the brands that used each of these marketing variables the most. You can see that there's a large gap between the top 4 and the next 6 brands for those that were featured. The top 10 displayed brands were a little more evenly distributed, with the exception of Heineken as the leader, being displayed with 18 occurrences over the year. The top 10 price-reduced brands are fairly similar to the top 10 featured brands. And due to this correlation between the brands and each of the variables, there was not a clear variable that was solely increased sales. So some of the questions we asked ourselves when analyzing your data was, how were these brands chosen? Was there a focus on top-selling domestic beers? Does featuring these beers drive the largest increase in sales? Alex will now touch on the first model we looked at in regards to variables.
So first, to review some assumptions that we made. The key marketing variables examined in the model included feature, denoted with an F, display, D, and price reduction, PR. All 3 variables are binary, with a 1 indicating an investment in that marketing category. The variable feature captures an advertisement in a circular, such as a local paper or magazine. Display indicates the beer, if the beer was given a special prominent location in order to drive attention to it. A price reduction, as Beth mentioned earlier, identifies beers that had a total price range greater than 5%. These 3 variables are used to capture the performance of the marketing channels used by this store. The assumptions made in model development are that all features and display setups are the same cost and receive the same number of views. It is also assumed that price reductions are comparable and have the same impact on margins. These assumptions are made in order to compare the performance of each marketing channel across various categories and beers. The first model examines total sales and tests its response to changes in the 3 marketing variables: feature, display, and price reduction. This model encompasses all beers and categories with the intent of identifying the best marketing channel for driving new sales. Next slide. This analysis reveals that feature is the only significant marketing variable at the total sales level. It has the largest impact on sales, with an average increase of 99 units sold when utilized. While display and price reductions do not appear significant in this model, they may have other uses such as clearing out overstock or reducing the impact of spoilage. With feature identified as the most significant marketing channel, the focus narrowed to identify which beer brands to feature in order to maximize revenue and best utilize marketing dollars.
Based on what we learned in the first model, like Alex mentioned, we decided to dive a little deeper to determine which individual beer brands should be featured and marked down to drive the largest increase in sales. Models were broken out by category of beer: domestic sub-premium, domestic premium, domestic super premium, craft, import, cider, non-alcoholic, and liquor style, and run on feature and price reduction variables. For example, for domestic sub-premium beers such as Busch Light, Busch, Miller High Life Light, Natural Ice, PBR, and Rolling Rock, we looked at the effect of features and price reductions of individual brands on overall sales for the category. We repeated this procedure for all 8 beer categories. We used separate models for the 8 beer categories so that the effects on sales could be seen more clearly than if we had run all 52 beer brands against total sales for the store. One assumption we made is that any increases in sales are true increases driven by new sales and not from customers switching between categories based on being featured. For example, we assume that an increase in sales on Sam Adams Boston Lager, driven by a feature that week, may have resulted in a decrease in sales in some other craft beer brands, but would unlikely have come from a decrease in sales for, say, Miller High Life or another domestic sub-premium beer. Thus, by capturing increases in sales by category, we can reasonably assume that we are capturing true increases in sales for the store. Next slide. Once we ran and analyzed all 8 models, some very interesting takeaways emerged. For many beers, total sales for the store appear to be unaffected by changes in features and price reductions. This is not to say that sales for that individual beer brand would not increase with features and price reductions, but rather sales for the store as a whole were not significantly affected. However, we did find that beers had significant impacts on total sales when they were featured in a given week. The list on the left shows the top recommended beers to feature and their corresponding anticipated impact of being featured on total weekly sales for the store. For example, our top recommendation of Sam Adams Boston Lager should drive a $3,770 increase in overall sales revenue for the store when featured in an advertisement that week. Interestingly, Sam Adams Boston Lager does not show up on our list of beers that were featured most frequently last year. In fact, with features in only 9 weeks, it was the 16th most frequently featured beer out of the 34 brands that were featured for the year. Let's look back at the top 10 most frequently featured beer brands for the year. Only those highlighted in blue, Miller Lite, Heineken, and Michelob Ultra, show up on our list of recommended beers to feature. Advertising those beers does appear to be money well spent. However, our recommendation for maximizing revenues and optimizing the use of marketing budget is to increase the frequency with which the listed recommended beers are featured. Sam Adams Boston Lager, Blue Moon Belgian White, Bud Light Lime, Miller High Life, and Rolling Rock should be featured more frequently, and beers that are not driving increases in revenue for the store as a whole, such as Coors Light, the most frequently featured beer last year, should be featured less frequently.
So some recommendations will be to run additional features on beers with the highest sales gain. Reduce features run on other brands such as Coors Light. Reallocate some marketing budget from displays to feature ads based on the impact to total sales. Utilizing this analysis, your store should be able to maximize the revenue return on your marketing budget for the features. Areas for further research will be within more years of data. You could determine which times of the year through weeks or seasons to determine which features are most optimal. Investigate interaction effects of brands that were featured on display and on price reduction simultaneously and their effects on sales. Begin to examine the rate of return on running multiple features on the same brands. One question to consider to focus on, is there a diminishing return, and does that impact how to allocate features across brands? So propose testing feature effectiveness on additional brands. Of the 52 brands carried, only 34 were featured during the year, and 18 brands had no data available on feature effectiveness. Thank you, and that is the conclusion of our slides.